I think your relationships are the reason that a lot of you are lonely. So you can arrest me. I'm in couples business again, but I saw this discourse a couple of days ago and I wanted to weigh in on the girls' trips are not for married women. I will tag this creator down below. She is actually on the right side. Her name is Leo Monet, and she's saying basically that you need to find an identity outside of your marriage, right? You can't like completely subsume yourself into marriage because that will end badly for you. But to catch you up on the discourse, basically a couple of days ago, this girl posted that she would never want to go away with her friends because the only person who can take care of her is her man, and her husband is her king, and he takes care of her, etc., etc., etc. A bunch of people have responded saying that you need to find an identity outside of yourself, that your relationship cannot be the end all and be all. And I wanted to weigh in on this sociologically. While I am not in a couple and famously not a woman, I do have a master's degree in sociology, and I wanted to bring some context to this. In Leo Monet's comment section, somebody dropped this gem where she said men's lives don't change when they get married, which is something that I might have to make a separate video on. And of course, if you're watching one of my videos, you know that I always say, I'm sure that you are the exception. I'm sure that your life fundamentally changed. I'm sure that you're married to a perfect man. But sociology is the study of aggregates. We're talking about the macro. We're not talking about you and your specific situation. Please have bean soup somewhere else. Anyway, this comment really made me think because the idea that like your life is fundamentally transformed when you get married or when you have kids is actually not that true for men. And this is a recurring issue on here where people get on here and say, oh, where are all my friends? Where are all my friends? Where are all my friends? And I said, during the viral My Friends Abandoned Me When They Had Kids discourse, I made a video that got a ton of views. And I said, a lot of people get into relationships and drop all their friends, right? Not only women, like gay men, queer people, lesbians, everybody. There is always going to be a person in one of those groups who will immediately get into a relationship and never speak to you again. And on my Substack, in the Sociology of Begging Someone to Marry You, I wrote at length about the uneven labor expectations placed on heterosexual women when they get married, right? Like the expectation is that women will work and cook and clean and take care of the kids and help the kids with their homework, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in a way that is not true for men. Again, if your husband helps you with all of this, great. We are not talking about you. We are talking about the macro. So when I think about the fact that men's lives don't really change when they get married or when they have kids, this is what I'm talking about. On top of that, in America, we know, this was written in 2020, but we know that over the last 70 years, there's been this weird devotion to the idea of a nuclear family, that the only people you need in your life are your partner and your kids, right? This is very antithetical to collectivist cultures. So if you're from like an island, like my family's from DR, or if you're from Asia or certain cultures in Asia, right? There is this idea that like the family is larger, right? You can live with your grandparents, you can live with your cousins, you can live with your uncles. Like families are much more sort of centered around the idea of a unit versus the idea of the unit only being your partner. And I think in American culture, this is what gets a lot of people fucked up because they think the only person that matters in my life is my partner. The only thing that I have to think about is my partner, and friendships, unfortunately, fall by the wayside. Last year, we had a ton of movies and shows that talked about the uneven expectations placed on women and how this made them a little bit nuts, right? Not in general. I'm talking about these examples specifically. So, Die My Love, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, All Her Fault, right? All of these movies and shows were specifically about the uneven labor expectations placed on women so that they were like driven to the brink. And I think in general, Americans are a lonely people and we're getting lonelier and lonelier. For years, I've been posting about American loneliness. But if you look at the data, this is from Q 2023, 8% of people say they have no close friends, 7% of people say they have one close friend, 14% of people say they only have two close friends, and then 18% of people say they only have three close friends. These are very small numbers. And when you talk about the idea of a girl's trip, this was in The Atlantic a couple of weeks ago, the friend group fallacy. This article basically is stating that most people don't really have friend groups, right? Most people hang out with people one-on-one, and that is what it is. If you do happen to have a friend group, you are part of a very, very lucky, special few. But like most people don't have that big, big group of friends that you will see on Seinfeld or like Friends or whatever adults, right? If you're Gen Z. The idea that you will grow into adulthood and have an automatic like group of friends is not very realistic, according to the data. And so going all the way back to the beginning, I do understand where the impulse comes from, where if we live in a culture that valorizes and glamorizes marriage, that tells you the most important thing in your life is to be married and to get a husband, and then you do, it is very easy to sort of fall into the trap, or a boyfriend, right? It is very easy to fall into the trap of like ignoring everyone in your life and dropping all your friends. But then you get situations like that article, My Friends Abandoned Me When They Have Kids. When I was in grad school, I used to haunt Reddit, and one of the main things that I would see on Reddit would be young women coming to Reddit saying, I don't have anyone to be in my wedding, right? The only person that I know is my partner. The only person that I'm friends with is my partner. I literally don't have bridesmaids, and that still comes up. If you go on the wedding Reddits, there are so many girls that are like, I don't have anyone to be in my wedding, and it's like, And again, I'm not blaming them. I'm giving them grace because I'm saying if you live in a culture that tells you the only thing that matters is like your partner and being in partnered and like locking yourself into this partnership, it makes sense to me to understand intellectually why people have no friends and why they're not allowed to go on girls trips, or they're saying why I'm never going to go on a girls trip because the only person that matters is my man. But I'm also saying if you get on here in a couple of years and say I don't know why I don't have a village, I don't know why I don't have a village, nobody wants to visit me in the suburbs, nobody wants to hang out with my baby, this is why, right? The idea of dropping your friends as soon as you get into a relationship is what leads to, not obviously what leads, I think a lot of things lead to loneliness. I'm just pointing to this because it's the graphic, right? But in this specific instance, this causes a lot of loneliness because you are literally, as I said in that video, jettisoning people out of your life because they no longer fit this image of like you and your man against the world. I think it's possible to give these people grace. I think it's possible to give these people like a little bit of leniency, but I'm also warning you, if you're watching this video, do not do this, right? Go on the girls trip, hang out with people outside of your man, hang out with people outside of your partner if you are not straight. Life is so much bigger than this, right? If you are locking yourself in your house with your partner, the data does not reflect well on those people. Let's just say that.